Nigeria's democracy, especially the Fourth Republic, started in the year 1999 after the election of President Olusegun Obasanjo and the then Vice President Atiku Abubakar. From then till now, it is 21 years. Now, before we were celebrating on the May 29th every year. That was democracy day before. But in the year 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari, in recognition of the election of June 12, 1993, that produced MKO Abiola, Moshood Kasimawo Olawale Abiola as the then president, and the election was actually annulled by the then military head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida. The people that went through all the struggles, that they were incarcerated, they were jailed, and all other people, what are the lessons that we should learn from them? Also, the democracy is moving on. Are we actually strengthening this democracy? Is it giving us the dividends as we expected? Are we getting what we want? Is Nigeria democracy at 21? Can it be compared to democracy in other spheres? This is what we are going to be discussing in this special, insightful moment with Jarity. A special edition of it that we are actually focusing on June 12th, the lessons learned. And we are going to be discussing with two people. The first person is Comrade Waheed Saka, and also we'll be discussing with one of those that were jailed, one of those that were prosecuted. It was the then PRO of NADECO. He was one of the activists, a very young person then, but is now a father, is now the commissioner in Osun State, Honorable Commissioner for Political Affairs and Intergovernmental Relations, Honorable Taiwo Akeju. He will also be telling us what his experiences were and what are the lessons that we should learn. There is no history again. These are the moments for the younger generations to learn from the people that have actually partaken in a lot of struggles leading to this democracy that we are. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with my first guest. Okay, I come back. As I said earlier, we are going to be looking into June 12 struggle and its relevance to Nigeria's democracy. And I have two series. The first series is going to be with my guest that is right here with me here. His name is Comrade Waheed Saka. He's the convener, Dialogue 365. Mr. Saka, you're highly welcome, sir.
It's good to have me. Thank you so much.
You are popularly called Maho. What brought about that before we go into it?
Maho was actually a name given to me when I joined the civil society movement some years back by one of my friends because of some activities that we embarked upon in those years. Chairman Maho was the brain behind the new China that everybody is talking about today.
Oh, yeah.
So because of it was the most popular, in civil society movement, we try to emulate people, we try to tailor our activities towards people. You see somebody bearing Mandela, you see somebody bearing somebody bearing Luther. Those are the years, and because of that, we try to maneuver our way around management. They will never know our real name.
Yes, before we got to know your name, it was on your Facebook. You see, everybody knows you as Chairman Maho. Yes. I was just like, there will be a day I will talk about that. Thank you for that clarification, sir. Our discussion has to do with June 12 elections and then the struggle after June 12. Where can you tell us? Can you just brief us the struggle that preceded June 12 and those after the June 12, and how? Okay, let's start from that.
The pre-June 12 activities was around demilitarization of Nigeria. Demilitarization is the sense that people were tired of military rule, and like minds were coming together to form a formidable front to actually combat the menace of military rule, the jackboot activities of the military rule. And what was actually involved then was campaign for democracy led by late Akaba Soron and others. Fembalana or Willa Kemfas of this world, they were part of the militarization. However, they emphasized the crisis that we have in June 12. but they were actually powerless because the political class are determined to derail the activities of the militarization process. But eventually, June 12 came, and a lot of people have defined June 12 in a lot of ways. Some called it a watershed in the history of Nigeria, some call it a phenomenon. But one thing I know about June 12 is June 12 was a history in the history of Nigeria, among the many history that Nigeria have. And it was a day that Nigerians, they far from every challenges that face us today, religion, ethnic, tribal, they forgo everything and they voted for somebody that they believe it can actually deliver. Unfortunately, June 12 was an opportunity lost.
June 12 was an opportunity lost. But sir, even though there was an opportunity lost then, there was still this incarceration of some 4 frontiers of these June 12, like Beko, Asokuti, and some other people that were detained. Can you tell us what actually led to that? After all, it was obvious that the then military head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, had annulled the election. Can you tell us what led to other struggles and
incarceration? After the annulment of June 12 election, there was the frontiers. Then the CD understand that the political class will undermine the process to confront the military. Okay. And they were able to come together, and they met with the winner of that election, and they said they understand this man is in dilemma because of MKO closeness to the ruling class, and they cannot afford to actually throw this away, just like previous experiments. So after that, they decided that, okay, what we'll do is to confront these people. And we cannot achieve that without mobilizing the masses of Nigeria. If I must tell you this, outside Lagos, Osun was the most vocal in the history of fighting for June 12 revalidation.
Outside Lagos,
Osun was the next. Yeah. And the consciousness here led to incarceration of the frontier here too. They were sent to various prisons, various police cells. Some were even killed. Some were on Sangiro today because they were not actually the vocal minority. They were part of the moral majority that stand up and said, no, we cannot continue this way. So today, we remember those activities with nostalgia. Can we actually reverse those conscious era?
That's exactly where I want to go into. You said it when you were talking then that it was a kind of history that Nigerians forgo a lot of things in order to to vote for the person they believed in. Can we have such consciousness again?
I don't think we will have that again. Nigeria most time look almost irreparable because that very particular moment they are not June 12. They are not what I refer to as patriotic seal of Nigerians. Everybody went back to their cocoon. They begin to see a Yoruba man, they begin to see a Fulani man, they begin to see an Hausa man, they begin to see a lot of interest, a lot of tribe are coming up. After June 12, we begin to see a Muslim and a Christian. We believe to categorize and at times placate religious interest in having a leadership. Is it that you have a president as Muslim and a vice president as Christian? And that has cut across all strata of our leadership structure in Nigeria. In the Senate, they do sort of this because people begin to raise forged along that axis as if the interest of a particular group in the country supersede the national interest. So this is issue why those that fought for democracy, those that fought for June 12 must try very hard to defend the current democratic experiment, because this is not what those that actually died in the process fought for. Those that they want a Nigeria that everybody can be proud of. But unfortunately, it was a forgone, a lost opportunity.
Okay, let's go for a very short break, sir. But when we come back, we'll talk more about how we can reawaken the consciousness of Nigeria, most especially considering the fact that some of you that are still living, some of you that were part and parcel of the struggle, your impact in the community, and how can we ensure that at least as we are moving on, we eradicate all the lines that have been created, lines, religious, politics, ethnic, and every other lines, when we as regard to June 12, 1993 election. Stay tuned, I'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back from that very short break. My guest once more is Comrade Waheed Saka. Is the convener Dialogue 365, and is one of those who partook in the struggles of June 12, 1993. Comrade, sir, let's now look at the Nigeria's democracy after that, after the annulment, and why the June 12 was recently declared as the Democracy Day. The politics and every other thing that followed before demand that one election time. What can you say? What led to May 29 instead of June 12? Because I'm very sure that our younger generation want to learn from that.
See, May 29 was actually an aberration. It was not to reflect the consciousness of Nigeria. It was to reflect the day military decided to hands off finally. So they tried to celebrate June 12. May 29. May 29 as if is the alpha and omega. But what we understand from the civil rights point of view was that without June 12, there can never be a May 29. If our people chicken out for June 29, would there still be a democracy today? No. Because the military will continue to rule this country. And we will have limited choice at this moment. But let me remind you of something. June 12, some of us joined June 12 struggle at a very early age of our life. And I begin to ask myself, who recruited us? Who asked us to join June 12? Nobody. We just saw people doing it and we joined. Most of the time in those days, some of us will leave our house and saw them protesting on the street, and we have to join. We don't even know who is leading what. And you ask a fundamental question, can we actually create new consciousness? No. Nobody can even do it.
Why?
Because at this moment, what we see among our generation, the new generation of Nigerians, is political opportunism. Once you have your own share of the national cake, you don't think about the country any longer. If you are criticizing today and you have opportunity, you stop the criticism. That somebody negatively said is a table manner. When you are eating, you don't speak. So the bottom line is we have a generation of opportunists. Those days when we joined the suicide movement, we never even know that we even have opportunity to be on television. It was not about show. It was not about appointment. It was never about what we eat. It's not never about what we wear. It was never about anybody praising us. But today, everything amounts to self-praise, having appointment in government. The more I attack government, maybe they will come back and say hello to me. And when the food finish, we begin to do another round of abusing of government. That's not the way to go. That's why it will be extremely difficult to actually have a conscious generation of leaders.
Let's now talk about the relevance of history, and philosophy as we move on. We know during the military era, they killed philosophy as a course for secondary school students. Now the history is no more there. Students are not learning history. Don't you think these are the reason why we cannot resuscitate the consciousness of Nigerians?
It is actually part of the reasons anyway. But importantly, what are you feeding your kids? What are you giving your kids? People want their kids to grow. They give them better food.
Yes.
They put them in good schools. But are they reading good books? The real books, not the physics, not the mathematics, not the... We begin to understand that parents have a lot to do in actually creating a conscious child.
Okay.
If today we are talking about government taking this away, government does not take parenthood away from any parents. They can take away their philosophy, their history, but they cannot take away the native intelligence that we have from our parents. If I know, I used to tell people, if I know the right from the wrong, if I know how to separate truth from falsehood, is not because I learned it from the four wall of a university or a polytechnic. It's because I have a value system from my parents that say this is the right thing to do. And I've been able to build on it through reading of good books. So when you are giving your children vitamins, proteins, you give them what they will use to develop their consciousness too. I love biographies, I love autobiographies, I love books that will raise your consciousness. And that is the way I am bringing up my kids. I let them realize this is June 12th. I give them books on June 12th so that they will understand who is MKO. Today, go to our school, ask people who is Awolowo. They will not even know him. Especially when you put Obafemi in front, you just pick that one that is playing football. And that is the crisis that we are facing as a nation. We cannot move forward without necessarily understanding our history. We are losing it already. That's why Nigeria look comparable to me.
But sir, I will still go back to that, because when you say the parents what the parents are giving their children, their kids, don't you think parents may not be able to give what they don't have? The new generation of parents that we are having now, they didn't witness something like this, and they have the community, let me say the society is through a lot of challenges. Don't you think these are actually part of this? Or somebody that doesn't have money to feed, now has the person to go and be reading, you have to be on the streets.
Let me tell you this. I grew up from a family that my father never entered any school. Okay. My mom never entered any school. But they gave me one opportunity. The opportunity to go to the bookseller and pick any book that I want. Every year, every new academic session, they will tell that person, he is bringing the one from the school. Just sell, come and collect money. So when I have that opportunity, I said, okay, I always had the one that I want to read at my leisure time. Except the physics, chemistry, textbook, and all of that thing. I will still pack loads of books. Join. You understand? More so, I gained one thing. We are losing the communality of the cultural communality of our people. We are losing it. I grew up with a grandfather that was a demo. You know what they call it, demo? Not the progressive. They have demo. That is the opposite of progressive. My grandfather was a demo, and he knew all those history. And he would tell me history of how Awolowo do this, how Awolowo began to distribute money through helicopter and all those things. It was never money. Money was never distributed. It was a leaflet. But I got those history. I began to research too. And I discovered that this is the way to go. Now, our people should look at our native intelligence. We are losing it. How many of us can actually speak Yoruba the way we should? How many of us are teaching our kids the same way? those who never know their history will always run into trouble. So at this level, to create the June 12 consciousness will be extremely difficult, because that generation was actually groomed in a way that they know it was the right thing to fight the military. But today, we don't even know what to fight for.
Even some are even calling for military to take over again on social media.
No. You see, I call that a frustration. It's a frustration to even call for military because they never experienced it.
Yes.
When we are going to school those days, you see, even police harass people. Police will harass you. They are harassing people nowadays too.
Yes.
But the bottom line is, they are questioning the rationale behind those things. Camera has exposed them. Social media is exposing them every day. And that's why the consciousness can be high. Now, if everybody say we want military back, maybe because of our frustration of what are they doing, then somebody will even cite that, okay, it was military that constructed Third Mainland Bridge. What has our people done in the past 21 years? So it's unfortunate, but Nigeria, I pray Nigeria be a better country.
Nigeria be a better country. That is a very good point to end this interview, sir. It has been a very nice session with Comrade Waheed Saka.
I like
is the convener. No, Comrade comes with some level of, you understand it.
I like the Mr.
Yes, but that Mr. is too simple for people like you.
I even like Waheed Saka alone without a Mr.
Okay, but
without a comrade, without a Mr.
Okay, but for now, let's just adopt a comrade. So it has been a very nice session with Comrade Waheed Saka. He's the convener, Dialogue 365, and is one of those who partook in the struggles of June 12. He has been speaking with us for the last.
I used to tell people that we were third level officer of June 12.
Okay, yeah, there was a rank. You have first ranking, the second ranking, and the third one.
The Akabasorun, the FAMA, they were the first ranking officer. The Falanas, the Uwela Kefas, they were the first rank. Okay. So we have some sub-level rank before our own rank.
Okay, I just hope that we'll regain that consciousness in the political and then democratic settings in Nigeria, most especially citizens demanding accountability, citizens holding government responsible and accountable to whatever they have done. That is the first part of our June 12 special package, and it has been a wonderful session. We will be coming with another interview with somebody else who also partook, and then who I think should be in the second round. I mean, that's a commissioner for political affairs, Taiwo Akeju. He was one of those that were detained during that struggle with Beko and some other things. I think that we will be having another session with him. He will be telling us his experience when he was detained in Lagos and when they were granted bail with Beko, Kuti, and some other people.